Actually, yes, it is. I forgot to turn on my mic. Obviously, what else is new? You know, your auntie source is like 115 years old, so it comes with a territory. How are y'all doing? It's been what, a week? Or yeah, it's been a week, right? Since I last had an upload. I'm sorry. I know. Life takes you in different turns and different curves and different bumps, and you do what you can. You do what you can, and you do it fabulously. Let me just add that. So, as we may all have heard, um, the Princess of Wales, Catherine, wife to the future King William, has disclosed, and I have to say, boldly so, because she's extremely private, as she should be, that she is undergoing preventative chemotherapy for a as a result of her most recent abdominal surgery, which after the fact had resulted in some lab tests coming out with still a bit of concerning um, results, I'd say. And her team, her doctors, have decided, just to eliminate the um, the potential for the cancer to come back later on, or to metastasize, or to like go to sleep for now and then again later on, like come back and wreak havoc again in your body. Then um, it would be medically advised to for her to go on preventative chemotherapy. Although I've never heard of preventative chemotherapy, I believe it's actually called adjuvant chemotherapy, and this is generally a treatment usually for with the use of the same chemotherapy drugs that people receive to treat like active or advanced cancer. Um, this type of therapy is meant to kill any remaining microscopic cancer cells. Because, when you try to excise, you try to remove as much of the cancer cells in a patient, you don't always get to see what else could be underneath. Like all the little microscopic cells. So that's why, like, when you have surgery, usually there are samples that are sent to the lab for further testing. And likely is what happened with Catherine. Now, I feel like a lot of people are commenting previously before her announcement, before um, she shared with the world this deeply personal struggle um, for herself and for her family, that um, she now is, she's now a member of, I would like to be positive here and say she's now a member of the cancer survivors group. You don't ever want to be a member of that, but just surviving cancer is leaps and bounds already a blessing in itself, Um, I have had family members who've gone through this throughout my lifetime. And as those who have suffered through it, and family members who've seen it and are directly affected by it, it is a grim reality that a lot of people have to contend with, have to struggle with, whether you are the patient or whether you are the caregiver. Um, it's definitely not an easy task, whether you have 100 people watching over you or one person watching over you. Everybody carries that load with you, and I'm glad that she has, her family around her. I feel bad that at 42, with the children that she has, all under, what is it? They're all under 10 years old, I believe. The the gravity of that, I'm sure, is not lost on her and her husband William, because you have to be very tender with these children's hearts. You have to be very tender in how you approach and share with them this new announcement, even though it's not like something great, obviously, but you still have to share it with them so they have a slight understanding. Like when you're, because chemotherapy will take the wind out of you and then some. It really does. Any cancer patient who's gone through and is currently going through chemotherapy, hats off to each and every one of you, because it really, really is on its own a struggle that you just can't put into words. So everybody knows she's a public figure, because she married the love of her life, and that came with being a public figure. But again, that was such a commendable, bold move for somebody who gets nervous speaking publicly in front of the cameras, to be so deeply personal, to discuss to share something so deeply personal. And it just kind of like brings you back down to earth, really. Like, everybody has their own struggles, everybody has their own sufferings, whether you make more than $1 million a year, or whether you're like barely scraping by. Everybody has their own struggles, and it's not to minimize everybody's struggles, because obviously, not everybody will understand, right? And in her case, unfortunately, because of her and her husband being public figures, and obviously with their children, it's an even more enormous task to try to, not to convince, but to sort of alleviate the burden. Is it burden? Is burden what I'm thinking about? Off of like the people around them who know but are not able to share, because it's hard enough to see like a loved one ailing, like, when you have the flu. It's hello, it's like, oh my god. But then for something this great, how do you share that? Where do you begin to share it? And and I'm glad that she did find the time to share that in her own terms, in her own words, and for her to share that, she's going to be okay. I mean, it's a struggle enough to tell yourself that, and a struggle enough to share that with your family and with the small children that she has, and then to have to carry that, that strength, that grace, to tell the rest of the world that, you know who may be interested in her journey, that everything is going to be okay. Could you imagine having to like have to think about the outside world, outside of like your own immediate family, and carrying that load. I mean, geez, nuts. I couldn't. I couldn't imagine it. I just couldn't. I mean, um, the royal family as have been of late and for many years now. They kind of are like on a swinging pendulum where they're deeply loved or they're just deeply just not loved. So, um, and of course, it's easy for a lot of people who are just watching, just looking through this fishbowl where they're living, to say, well, they have X amount of money they have at their disposal and things like that. But we forget that they're not robots. They're humans. They feel, they get sick, just as, you know, the Princess of Wales has disclosed that, again, she's undergoing cancer. We have to be mindful too. Like, there has to be boundaries for us as humans, whether it's her or anybody else who's ailing. We have to be more sensitive to someone else's struggle. She may be the Princess of Wales, but she is first a mother to her three small children. She's a wife. She's a daughter and a sister. So, with those dynamics, I feel like when people were saying, oh, we can't find her, oh, she hasn't been seen, things like that. Like, who would want to be out and about when you just had abdominal surgery? I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with having had abdominal surgery. Any sort of surgery that you have that goes through the many layers of um, the muscle, the fat, um, the fascia, the covering of your organs, it is always going to take some time to even get up on your own and not have that shooting pain rising and like just radiating all over the place in your body. So like when people were expecting her to be up and about because she's already had her, what is it? She had her abdominal surgery in January. Okay, everybody will heal on their own time. I mean, if she was like, apart from her sharing with the world that she has, has had to begin adjuvant chemotherapy, apart from that, if she were not like seen in July, then maybe people can start asking like, is she okay? But the woman just had surgery, what, January, February, March, April, barely 3 months ago. What do you want? I mean, hello. And we don't know how extensive it is. But again, abdominal surgery, it goes through the many layers of your, from your skin all the way down to whatever the organ is that's affected. It's going to be painful. If you get a paper cut, that thing is painful and very annoying. Imagine a large wound. Again, we have to kind of put it into perspective that people will not be able to move around as they normally would shortly after surgery. Like in her case, she's had the surgery in the middle of her body. So, like if she moves her torso, if she moves like her limbs, there will be the muscles that are like connected to that would react, and that would be painful. So again, we need to be a little bit more conscious about what we say and towards others who may be suffering. I mean, if we're careful about potentially meeting someone who may be having like mental health issues in their own lives or struggling with that, then we should also be careful with people who have shared themselves that they have had, illnesses or going through illnesses that you can see. Not every illness can be seen, obviously, but if we can be a little bit more, give a little bit more grace for illnesses that we can also see, as much as we want to give grace for illnesses that we cannot see, I think as humans would be on the right track. Um, and I think a lot of people are also want to just touch upon. A lot of people are stuck on what's gonna happen next. And I think whether whether it's a family member or somebody you just admire from afar, I think we should all just like take a moment and just wish them all well. If we can remember them in our prayers and just wish them well because they have families, like I said. They have families. She has a family. We all have families. We may not have like our own husband or a wife or partner or children in those relationships, but we could all do well with remembering to be kind. Um, in this very moment, is the institution of the British monarchy in its biggest crisis because she just, Catherine, just again shared that she has cancer, and then also her father in law, the current King of England, Charles, is also undergoing treatment for prostate cancer. It is, but it is also um, it's a national crisis per se, if people want to look at it that way. But more than that, it's a family crisis first. Um, and as close as they likely are, I'm sure they're all kind of huddling around each other and just propping each other up, which a loving family would do, right? I mean, if you have like even outsiders, strangers, like propping you up, that's already a great boost to your morale because there will be days when you can't get up. I mean, with the video that we see of her giving her statement about her cancer, you can see she's tired. There's just no bones about it. She's tired because, like I said, chemotherapy will hit you in a way that you had never, never, never expected. And I don't wish it on anybody at all. At all. Not anybody. And as tired and exhausted as she was, and she looked like she had lost significant weight also. And you know that she's always been slim, but slimmer now. The weight of the worries of what she's undergoing and the small children that she has obviously weighs on her. So, people, everybody, be kinder, please. Be kinder, not just to her, but to everyone else. Leave some grace for others. I know it's hard, I know. But if we can leave grace for others, again, I think we would all be in a better place in our lives and in the world at large. So, with that, I just wanted to share that with you guys. Those are my thoughts. And again, remember to leave grace for others. Continue to be fabulous little you because what else can you do but be fabulous little you and to always remember to journey in gratitude. I will see you darling dears later. And I hope I'll have another one soon. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.